Okay, this is my neuron. I built it out of old Legos that I used to have. So we're gonna get right into it, starting off with the axon, which is this light gray structure. The axon carries nerve impulses away from the body. Think of the spine, for example. These can be very long or very short. So as I mentioned, the spinal cord is huge, so that axon is very, very large. Moving on to the dendrites, which are over here by the stoma. The dendrites are these purple and pink little things that sort of sit on the edge of the stoma. These receive nerve impulses from other cells. And speaking of the stoma, this is the stoma right here. This large dark blue piece. This houses the DNA, the nucleus, which is this chest right here. It also makes proteins, which go through the axon as well as through the dendrites, and it receives the input from other neuron axons. Next up, moving all the way down here to the terminal axon, are these little pink flowers stemming off of these green shapes right here. This helps the axon make synaptic contact with the other cells. Moving back into the middle of the structure, we have the myelin sheath, which is this white sitting directly on top of the axon, which allows electrical impulses to transmit along the nerve cells. Over here on the right again, this green sort of weird looking stem thing, this is supposed to represent the neurotransmitters, which is sort of like the messengers. They carry special chemicals to other neurons. Think of these, I'm going to use the comparison later. Think of these as a delivery driver, right? So for DoorDash, right, you're ordering food, this is the delivery driver. Now back up here to the nucleus, which is the treasure chest. This produces proteins. It has the necessary properties to form chromosomes. It's really important. This is sort of where all the stuff is made that gets like moved from neuron to neuron. Moving back down here next to our delivery driver is the terminal sac, which is this purple piece. This is the restaurant, for example, that you're ordering from. So say you want Chick-fil-A, right? This is the restaurant Chick-fil-A. This is where neurotransmitters are released. Back into the middle is the nodes of Ranvier. I think that's how it's pronounced. Are these yellow things? Unfortunately, I couldn't really fit them in between because Lego don't necessarily have those pieces. But these are supposed to be gaps between the myelin sheath, and these just allow for faster electrical impulse transformation. And finally, this green block hanging on top of this darker gray block are the receptor site. Okay, so this is your house, right? So we've got the restaurant Chick-fil-A. You order a chicken sandwich. The neurotransmitter send that chicken sandwich back up to here, which is your house. I've spoken about the different parts of a neuron and what those different parts of a neuron are supposed to do. But now I want to speak about action potential, which is the neuron's purpose or what it's supposed to do. I would personally define it as a debunking of different stimulants or the processing of different stimulants. Pretty much what different stimulants make you feel, right? So if you open your door, for example, or you open your window and you feel a cold breeze of air, then it's going to make you feel cold, and your neurons feel that, and they tell your brain to make you feel that way. And that's called action potential. But before I speak about action potential, I want to speak about resting potential and the voltage idea behind neurons. Pretty much, the resting charge, right, of a neuron is -70, and the charge of the neuron's environment outside of so say I'm a neuron, right? The inside of me, so I'm a neuron. I've got a -70 charge, but my room has got a charge of 0. So the neuron inside of it, -70, but the neuron's environment has a charge of 0. This is called resting potential. And action potential only takes place when that charge inside of a neuron goes from -70 to -55 through depolarization. And so depolarization pretty much means that, I guess the best way to describe it is charge from the outside of the outside of the neuron is flooding into the neuron. So neurons tend to have a negative charge, while the outside environment that a neuron is floating in has a positive charge. So depolarization is best defined as the neuron opens up and positive ions flow into the neuron, bringing its voltage and overall charge up. Now, when it gets to that negative 55 voltage, right, that threshold, right, negative 55 is the threshold. We start to think about something called the all or nothing phenomenon, meaning that as soon as a neuron's charge hits negative 55 volts, we begin to feel things, or it begins to process the stimulant, right? So even if we're at negative 56, we don't feel anything, right? We don't feel anything at all. But as soon as we hit 55 and we keep going up, or negative 55 and we keep going up, we begin to feel things and process and think, and it begins to work, right? It's so cool. So pretty much different stimulants have different charges, right? You're gonna feel a much lower stimulant if you open your window and feel a breeze as if you open your door and a blizzard hits you, right? So because of the different stimulants and the different charges those stimulants bring, that will directly impact the amount of charge that a neuron has. And the more charge a neuron has, the more intense your reaction or feeling is to that stimulant, right? But not to get ahead of myself. So I've spoken about the all or nothing phenomenon, which is negative 55 charges. I've spoken about depolarization, which is when the positive ions from outside of a neuron start to flow in and bring its charge up. I've spoken about resting potential. I've spoken about action potential. But I want to speak about reuptake and refractatory. Okay, so reuptake has to do with the neurotransmitters on the end of a neuron. It means that it's the process of recycling neurotransmitters to use them over and over again. So for example, I used in my clip when I was talking about the structure of a neuron, I spoke about the neurotransmitters as the delivery driver, right? From a restaurant. A delivery driver usually is on a shift. So if you're a pizza boy for Domino's, say, you won't go into work, get a pizza, run back, deliver it, and then you're clocking out. You usually have to deliver multiple pizzas, right? So that's the best way I would summarize reuptake. It's the recycling of neurotransmitters. And finally, the refractory period. This is a period of time, short or long, when neurons are unable to repeat action potential. So they're just, I would say they're deactivated for a short period of time is the best way to explain it. How I like to think about it is it's sort of your body's way of getting used to the stimulant. So for example, like I said earlier, if the stimulant was cold air, over time your body will get used to that cold temperature, or mine does anyway. I don't know if it's because I spend a lot of time in the cold when I'm like snowboarding or something, but over time your body will get used to that stimulant, and the amount of charge that it has will become less and less, and eventually it will drop under that negative 55 threshold, and you will go back to feeling normal. But yeah, that's all. Thank you very much. Have a good day.